Good morning, everyone. It's incredible to be here today. I am super, super grateful to have been able to be at the Foundry with Ron and Melody. It was such an incredible time. They hosted us so hospitable, so loving, so giving. I just want to give you a little bit of a gift. I know that Ron had a Superman shirt. He had a sweater on, and I just wanted to give you my favorite Superman hat. So Ron, this is for you. Thank you. I'll make sure this gets to you. Super appreciate the time. And what an amazing time with the brothers. The brothers were just so awesome, so encouraging, just great fellowship. Lou, Jack, and Kathy have built such an incredible foundation here with the church. I'm so amazed at the love and the encouragement and the inspiration that I was able to get just from being with the brothers in such a great time. God has blessed you in an incredible way. I don't know if you understand, but you have an amazing couple in Lou, Jack, and Kathy. And I'm just exhilarated and so happy and excited that you allowed me and gave me the opportunity to be here this time. You guys are dear friends, true heroes in the faith. Seriously, you guys have done so much. I know even for me and my wife, when we reached our 10-year anniversary, he renewed our vows for us in a very difficult time. And he went totally out of his way to make it happen. And I'm so grateful to be here with you guys and to be able to share some things that God has taught me and showed me over the years. I only pray that you understand just how much there is to learn through the scriptures about several different factors in our lives and emotions. For my lesson today, I'm going to be talking about fear and what causes fear and what brings peace. Climbing to the top of a rock called Half Dome at 4,737 feet high above Yosemite Valley, pulling yourself along cables at about a 50-degree angle. Nothing holding you, just the cable. You're grabbing the cables and other people coming down those same cables the other side, by the way. The dentist holding a drill, getting ready to do a root canal on you. Going spearfishing and spotting a shark 15 feet away from you. Oh, goodness gracious. These things cause some incredible fear in me. Arriving at a final exam and realizing you studied the wrong material. Oh! Been there. Getting in trouble and being sent to the principal's office in elementary school. Thank you, Mr. Dilbert. Crashing into the back of a nice white Bentley and finding out it belonged to a famous actor. Sorry, Mr. LL Cool J. I don't know about you, but every one of these situations created unbelievable amounts of fear and trepidation to the depths of my heart. What are you afraid of? Some may say, oh, nothing. I'm not afraid of nothing. Nothing causes fear in me. Some are just afraid of their own shadow. Others, horror movies, they're afraid. Others, a pile of dirty dishes, and they're afraid of that or some dirty laundry. Others, it's a spider or a roach. And today, in everyday life, there are so many things that create a great deal of fear in us. For some of us, it's simply seeing your gas tank driving on a lonely road and the needle is passing the empty mark and there's no gas station for miles. Paying bills day on a month when you had to pay for an unexpected car bill and a ticket and other expenses and you're super tight. Your computer crashing right in the middle of doing a huge project for school or work. Getting your report card and getting the worst grades you ever got. Your doctor telling you some bad news about your health. Getting a phone call from a relative saying, I have some bad news about so-and-so and has such and such at the hospital. Or so-and-so. Some of us are fearful of this. So-and-so won the election.
Okay, go ahead.
These things can cause a great deal of fear and anxiety. And the truth is that Too many of us are tied up and gripped by a great deal of unspiritual, ungodly, unrighteous, undermining fear. And today, I want to show you that you can say no fear. Amen. That's the title of the lesson today. No fear. Now, who are some characters in the Bible who should have been fearful, but were not? David, a young shepherd boy with a slingshot facing the giant Goliath after the whole Israelite army was afraid to confront Goliath. In 1 Samuel 17:32, David said to King Saul, "Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him." Verse 45, David said to the Philistine, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I'll strike you down and cut off your head." No fear. Caleb in Joshua 14:12 saying, "Now then, just as the Lord promised, he has kept me alive for 45 years since the time he said to this Moses, while Israel moved about in the wilderness. So here I am today, 85 years old." That's not me. "I am still as strong today as the day Moses sent me out. I'm just as vigorous to go out to battle now as I was then. Now give me this hill country that the Lord promised me that day. No fear." Amen. Jonathan, in 1 Samuel 14:6, about to face an army of who knows how many soldiers, ready and waiting for them, Jonathan said to his young armor bearer, "Come, let's go over to the outpost of those uncircumcised fellows. Perhaps the Lord will act in our behalf." Nothing can hinder the Lord from saving, whether by many or by few. No fear. Isaiah 41:10, "Fear not, for I am with you." Joshua 1:9, "Do not be afraid, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." 2 Timothy 1:7, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of self-discipline." However, as we all know, with living in society today, fear is something that is entangled in every aspect of our lives. According to statistics, studies show more than 30% of adults in the United States struggle with anxiety disorders and or phobias. Our fears can cause us to trust in things, people, places, idols, etc., instead of trusting in the one who created and breathed them into life. Let's look at what causes fear and what brings peace. We're going to look at the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Oh, come on, bro. Come on.
Point number one, you establish a man-made idol. Daniel 3:1. Verse 1, King Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold, 60 cubits high and 6 cubits wide. Translated, that is about 90 feet high and 9 feet wide, or about 27 meters high and 2.7 meters wide, and set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Theologians recognize that there's a clear link between Nebuchadnezzar's dream in Daniel 2 and the image he made in Daniel 3. It seems that Nebuchadnezzar deliberately made an entire statue of gold, saying that the day of his reign and authority would never end, in contradiction to God's declaration and his plan in Daniel 2.
Come on. Wow.
In Daniel 2:34, he had said, while you were watching, a rock was cut out, but not by human hands. It struck the statue on his feet of iron and clay and smashed them. Then the iron and clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold were all broken to pieces and became like chaff on a threshing floor in the summer. The wind swept them away without leaving a trace, but the rock that struck the statue became a huge mountain and filled the whole earth. Daniel interpreted his dream, but it described King Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom as being smashed along with the others by a rock, which is the kingdom of God.
Come on, bro.
That would endure forever and fill the whole earth. King Nebuchadnezzar was putting his faith and his security on this man-made idol. Wow. What have you been putting your security on today? What have you been worshiping and idolizing today. Man-made objects, possessions, family or relationships, your financial stability, your own religiosity or traditions, political parties. Matthew 7:24 says wise, talks about a wise and foolish builder. They had a wise builder. He put the Bible, the Word of God, into practice. The one that was wise, he had a foundation, his house on the rock. The foolish one had the house of his foundation was on sand. Do you have sandy foundation today? Number 2, you worship the man-made idol. You worship it. Daniel 3:2-7 says, he then summoned satraps, prefects, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all the other provincial officials to come to the dedication of the image he had set up. So the satraps, prefects, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all other provincial officials assembled for the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up, and they stood before it. Then the herald loudly proclaimed, nations and peoples of every language, this is what you are commanded to do. As soon as you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music, you must fall down and worship the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Whoever does not fall down and worship will immediately be thrown into a blazing furnace. Therefore, as soon as they heard the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, and kinds of music, all the nations and peoples of every language fell down and worshiped the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. What are you idolizing? What are you bowing down to? You know, some people bow down to their car. I got to take care of my car. Every aspect of my car. Make sure it's all nice and pretty. Netflix.
Uh-oh.
There's a lot of people worshiping Netflix these days. Instagram.
Uh-oh. Instagram.
Man, there's a lot more talking to the phone as opposed to people.
Wow. Come on, bro.
As opposed to people.
Yeah.
There's less conversation between people and more with the phone.
That is so true.
Facebook, TikTok. We're looking more at TikTok just for a little gratification for a few seconds.
Come on, bro. That is so true.
Number 3, you establish some rules and rituals regarding the man-made idol. What kind of rules and rituals you establish? Daniel 3 verse 8. At this time, some astrologers came forward and denounced the Jews. They said to King Nebuchadnezzar, may the king live forever. Your majesty has issued a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music must fall down and worship the image of gold. And that whoever does not fall down and worship will be thrown into a blazing furnace. Wow. But there are some Jews whom you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who pay no attention to you. Your majesty, they neither serve your gods nor worship the image of gold you have set up. Furious with rage, Nebuchadnezzar summoned Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So these men were brought before the king, and Nebuchadnezzar said to them, is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the image of gold I have set up? Now when you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music, if you are ready to fall down and worship the image I made, very good. But if you do not worship it, you will be thrown immediately into a blazing furnace. Then what? God will be able to rescue you from my hand.
What God? What God?
Watch out.
You know, we think this is a pretty crazy and extreme behavior and very outlandish. But is there something that you have established rules and rituals around? Maybe sports. You know, people paint their faces, meet for tailgate parties to worship their team with regalia and have bitter, nasty rivalries that in some cases have ended in violence.
Oh my goodness.
Or maybe political parties or racial issues. We establish idols and rules and rituals, and we rake people over the coals for what the opposing side believes.
Oh man. Wow.
Where are you planting your flags?
Come on, bro.
You know, I used to get ticked off when people would ask me, where are you from? And I said, you know what? I was born in Mexico City. And I was excited to say I was born from Mexico City. I said, I'm from Mexico City. I was born in Mexico City. And they said, well, how long have you been here in the United States? Well, I came over when I was 2 years old. Then they would say something that made my hair stand up in the back of my neck.
Oh, man.
And they would say, oh, so you're more American than you are Mexican. What did you say? Come again? Let's take this outside. I had a hard time. Yeah, I was a disciple. I was having a hard time. What do you mean? Taking my Mexicality away from me.
Ooh.
Man, I'm Mexican. I was proud of it, my heritage. But then I realized one day after a lesson that a brother was preaching about planting flags. I had planted a flag on being Mexican. And you know what really matters? Is I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
You can call me Chinese, you can call me African, you can call me whatever you want.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ. That's all that matters. Some of us have flags in different places. Where are you planting your flag today? You can tell by what gives you an attitude.
Oh.
You can tell by what it is you spend most time thinking about or talking about. I'm not saying it's sinful to have a political allegiance or a favorite team or a favorite TV show. But where are you planting your flag? Please hear me. God is a jealous God. What really, really matters in the end of the day? What are you getting anxious and stressed about? What are you fretting and fearful about? What happens when you are fearful and fretting and furious? Right here, King Nebuchadnezzar, he set these guys up in a horrible way. And they had rituals and rules. And we do that today. Man, I was like, no, nobody's going to call me anything I don't want. No. We set up our own places, our own times for what we want to do. Don't you find yourself, when you want to do something, you figure out a way to do it? When you want to figure out a way to go sin, how many times you figured out a way to go make money so you can sin?
Wow. Oh, my goodness.
How much time did we spend looking for ways to get our pleasure? When we start being fearful and fretting and we get furious, you start to act irrationally. And everything is exaggerated and thrown out of proportion. Seriously, they need it 7 times hotter with the strongest soldiers?
Oh, my goodness.
What was I going to do? How much better was I going to be? How much more burnt were they going to be? When you act like this, there's always collateral damage. Your spouse gets the collateral damage. Your children get the collateral damage. Your co-workers, your roommates get the raw end of the deal. What are you doing to hurt the people around you because of your selfishness? Someone always gets hurt or suffers consequences for your fear and your fretting. King Nebuchadnezzar was fearful. He was not being idolized. He was fearful that he was not being worshipped by the people. He was fearful that the people did not follow the rules and the rituals he had established. Let's look at who had no fear.
Wow. Come on, bro.
Daniel 3:16, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to him, King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into a blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But, this gets me. I love this. But wait. But even if he does not, We want you to know. Just make this clear. We want you to know. Your Majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up.
That's right. Come on.
Then Nebuchadnezzar was furious with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and his attitude toward them changed. He ordered the furnace heated 7 times hotter than usual and commanded some of the strongest soldiers in his army to tie up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the blazing furnace. So these men were wearing robes, trousers, turbans, and other clothes, were bound and thrown into the blazing furnace. The king's command was so urgent, and the furnace so hot, that the flames of the fire killed the soldiers who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, firmly tied, fell into the blazing furnace. They trusted in God, regardless if God delivered them or not. Are you trusting in God today? When you're fearful, when you're anxious, when you're stressed, you're not trusting in God. You know, when you're looking at leaders, when you're looking at your spouse and blaming your roommate or somebody else for something that happened to you, you're not trusting God. You're not trusting God. Do you realize how much God is doing, how much God is working around you to create situations and experiences so that you can change and learn lessons? Even the best of, look at this. What were these guys learning? They were learning character. How did they come out of this? They came out of this better, more faithful, more courageous. What kind of stories do you think? What are we reading? Why are we reading it? Because it was an incredible story. It was an incredible story. How did we get the story? They lived out their faith. They trusted God. It's an incredible story. I love sharing God's miracles in my life. To see my very best friend for life. The only way that my best friend for life, my wife Patricia,
Come on, Patricia.
we've been married this coming December, 24 years. And she is my best friend. But it's only because of the Bible, and the Bible directs and guides our marriage. The only thing that takes away fear and anxiety and stress in our marriage is God and trusting in God. Guys, super incredible. I've been praying for a couple of years now, just before every meal. I pray before every meal for each member of my family. And for my parents and siblings, that they get to know God in His way. And I talk to God, and I say, God, before I eat, this is all before I eat. I pray for each one of them individually. I say, God, be with my wife, help her to have peace and strength and tranquility, and help me to lead her in the right way. Guide me, teach me. My daughters, same thing. I pray about them individually, specifically. Then I eat. But I don't eat until I pray. Well, I've been praying for this last couple of years, and just about a month ago, my wife was doing a lesson for communion, and in that lesson, she shared that, man, you know what? I've been studying out peace. I've been studying out peace. She didn't know I was praying that for her. She said, I've been studying out peace, and I now feel more peaceful than I ever have in my life. How does that happen? Guys, are you praying? Are you trusting God? Are you going to God? My daughters are true miracles that I've been praying about since before they were born.
Come on, bro.
They're strong and faithful disciples of Jesus Christ. And our house is so cool. It's the coolest thing. You can go to my house any day of the week, something's happening. You go to my house, check it out. In my house, my daughters, one will be in one room doing Bible studies. They'll be zooming in doing Bible studies. Another daughter, I have 2 daughters and a son. Priscilla, Daniela, and little Salvador, also AKA Chavita.
Chavita.
And they're doing one thing or another. One of them's studying the Bible, another one's doing a discipleship, mentoring time with somebody else. I'm in another room doing a study with somebody else, and my wife, she's in another room doing a discipleship, mentoring time with somebody else. We're all doing something. Each one of us is incredible. So cool. This is a dream come true.
Yeah, it is.
It's a miracle. It's totally God. Totally the Lord. You pray, you trust God, you get rid of the fears, you get rid of the trepidation. God will bless. God will guide.
That's right.
You know, we're all fighting the fight to be on fire for God. Fighting. I'm 52 years old. And I am fighting the fight. I want to be fruitful. I want to help someone become a disciple. I want to help more people from weak to being strong. I want to help our church to continue to grow, to go around the world. I want to do this in my generation. What is your vision? What is your dream? You know, just recently we studied the Bible with a guy named Kevin Ching, one of my dearest friends, reached out to him with Mariah by USC. They reached out to this guy, Kevin. He came out to church. He came out to church and Zoom, obviously. And
He zoomed out.
we started studying the Bible. Man, it was amazing. This guy's heart was so ready. It was almost probably the smoothest study series I've ever done in my life. Incredible. His heart was just so ready. And he just had such a heart of gold. I super appreciate Kevin. Man, we baptized him the other day. He's an awesome discipleship brother in the faith. Our Bible talk, thank God for the women. The women are doing awesome too. My wife, she's just blowing it out in studies left and right. We've had 4 baptisms in the last month and a half.
Come on.
That was our Bible talk of 10 people. God is blowing it out. And my son, he's developing some deep convictions too. He's 8 years old.
Let's go.
We just moved to this new house. We put in all the internet, and it was really exciting because everybody needs internet in the house, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's school. My wife's doing working from home, and so everybody needs internet. So we got it, man, finally. And so at the end of the night, it was all in. I said, oh. I said, mijo, it's my son, mijo, the internet was put in. This was a big deal. And he's like, oh, okay. He started walking away, and then he came back. I said, what's up, mijo? He goes, well, Dad, you know what? Church is a big deal, Dad. Church is a big deal. Internet's okay. The church is a big deal. I was like, oh, okay. You're right. That's right, mijo. You're right. Okay. Yep. He starts walking away. He comes back. He says, Dad, you know what? God's a big deal.
Wow. Let's go.
I'm like, oh, snap. Okay. Yeah. Now you're discipling me. What's up with that? I said, you're right. He starts walking away. He comes back again. And he says, Dad, you know what, Dad? Baptisms are a big deal.
Oh.
I'm like, what? What in the world?
How old is he?
8 years old. I'm like, what in the world? This is my son. Man, God is moving. When you put God first, when you make him Lord of your life, Lord of your family, Lord of your house, God works miracles.
Amen.
Just like with these guys. In Daniel 3:24, then King Nebuchadnezzar leapt to his feet in amazement and asked his advisors, weren't there 3 men that we tied up and threw into the fire? They replied, certainly, your majesty. He said, look, I see 4 men walking around the fire unbound and unharmed. And the 4th looks like what? A son of the gods. Nebuchadnezzar then approached the opening of the blazing furnace and shouted, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out, come here. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out of the fire, and the satraps, prefects, governors, and royal advisors crowded around them. They saw that the fire had not harmed their bodies, nor was a hair of their heads singed. Their robes were not scorched, and there was no smell of fire or even campfire on them. Then Nebuchadnezzar said, praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel, Jesus Christ, and rescued his servants. They trusted in him and defied the king's command and were willing to give up their lives rather than serve or worship any God except their own God. Therefore, I decree that the people of any nation or language who say anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be cut into pieces.
Amen.
And their houses burned, turned into piles of rubble. For no other God can save in this way.
right.
Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. And what happens when you have no fear? What happens? You have the one true God. When you have the one true God, you follow the one true Jesus because he is the way, the truth, and the life. What happens? When you have no fear, you worship the only, the one, the true God. Every disciple is completely committed to the church. This is the heart. You worship the one true God, the one true way. The one true life. This is our life. This is what we do. We live this way. Every single disciple. And I just want to challenge those that are not on fire for God. You do not understand who your God is. He's a jealous, passionate, no fear God. And he expects every single disciple to be a hardcore disciple. Everyone. Young, old, middle-aged, whatever it is, every one of us. Whether you're in campus, teens, married, singles, everyone. Absolutely committed, 100%. If you are not, if you have a church, if you're in a place where you don't have every single person fired up, where you got people warming benches and just sitting there and coming back the next week the same way with the same attitudes, the same problems, and the same fears, and the same insecurities, that's not God's church.
Amen.
You establish some deep convictions to trust this God no matter what.
Come on, bro.
That's what no fear causes. We have a dream to evangelize the world in our generation, and we have a plan to do it. We have a special missions contribution.
We do.
And we're super excited about
Come on
it.
now.
We can't wait to see what this special mission is going to cost. And what it's going to cause, what's going to create around the world. Do you realize we're all a result of a special missions contribution? Do you realize that? We're all the result of one person saying, you know what, I'm going to go out tag. I'm going to go out sell cupcakes. I'm going to go sacrifice. I'm going to go do a call. I'm going to call somebody to see if they'll sponsor me. We're all the result of a special missions. Make no mistake about it. We came at a cost. Do you realize we're here at the cost of blood? Jesus Christ shed his blood so that we would know the truth, so we would not live in fear anymore, so we can get rid of the chains that shackle people in insecurity, in depression, in their pain, in their suffering, and they have no way out but to stay in that fear of loneliness. They were so secure, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and so faithful, and so peaceful, and so resolved to God's will, that they got that gift of meeting with Jesus in the furnace and experienced a miracle of God. Their conviction of not allowing fear to drive their behavior, like many of us do. Do you realize many of the things you do are out of fear?
Yeah.
We even dress up out of fear. We smile out of fear. We speak out of fear. What are we going to look like? What are people going to think about us? How are we going to see? How are we going to appear to people? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were not worried about that. They were just worried about their one and only God. And they had no fear. They were willing to sacrifice whatever. And they were convinced that there is one God, one King, that will rescue them no matter what. Not only did they survive, but they were promoted. And they saw Jesus Christ. And all because they lived with no fear. I want to encourage us. Stop living in fear. Let's be the church. Washington, D.C., you're an incredible church. You're an amazing group of brothers and sisters. Man, the brothers I met are awesome. So amazing, got such great hearts, fighting the fight, every one of them. asking me questions. What can I do to grow? What can I do to change? Man, it was incredible. Awesome fellowship. Don't be gripped by fear. Let this be the church that says, we do not fear. No fear in the church of Washington, D.C. And to God be all the glory.